there is a point to the makeup. It's not that I've just put on a load of makeup badly. It's also kind of that as well, in that I can't do makeup very well, but I'm going to say it serves a point. It's been quite a while since I posted anything, and I'll be honest, I'm not trying to keep a regular schedule, but it is kind of mad, obviously, at the moment. I hope that you and all of your family and all your friends are keeping safe and well. I have a heart condition and I have asthma, so I'm being particularly careful, and I'm lucky in that I live with my partner and he can go outside and get food and so on, but mostly I have not left the house in 2-3 weeks. So I've been reading a lot, but now I want something really escapist. So I managed to pick this up. So obviously this is the full set of the Chronicles of Narnia books. So there are 7, I believe, in the series. So there's The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. I have never read the entirety of these books, and when I say the entirety, I've read parts of every single one, but not not a whole one of any of them. I don't even think the most famous one, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, I don't think I've read that in its entirety. A main theme of the books, of the stories in general, is literally escaping this world into another one, into a more fantastical realm, which at the moment is definitely something that I want. I hope that I will try and get through one book a day, so then it will take me a week to read them all, but we'll see. So I read it all 767 pages, of which I enjoyed less than 100. Okay, so I'm going to be first of all going through the stories not in order of publication or the order in which C.S. Lewis recommends you read them, which is the sort of the chronological order, but through the order of highest to lowest in terms of how much I enjoyed them. So the first one is the big one, the big one that everyone has heard of, has probably seen the movie of and the other adaptations of, and that is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And I awarded that 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was excellent. I thought it really delved into that magical feeling of escaping from this world into a completely different one and meeting magical creatures, and it really had this cozy style. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously there's a Christ allegory and so on within it, but I found it to be nowhere near as forceful as other stories were in terms of Christian allegory. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. So from 5 stars we go down to 3 stars. There were no 4 stars. The first one is The Magician's Nephew, which is the first one chronologically, so it's about like the founding of Narnia. I didn't find it to be particularly interesting. I thought there was it was obviously the first one I read because I read it in terms of the chronological order, which is what C.S. Lewis wanted. And honestly, it was just fine. I found it kind of dull most of the time. I thought that the plot just sort of happened. I wasn't particularly interested in the characters, but there wasn't anything particularly egregious about it. We'll go back into some of the themes overall that I didn't like throughout the whole series that do come into it, but you know, it was fine. And the second book that had 3 stars was Prince Caspian. So that is the 4th in the chronological series, but it directly follows The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. So it's all 4 children again going back into Narnia and helping out Prince Caspian to become king. Again, it was fine. I didn't like the characters as much. I hoped that because we were returning to characters that I did enjoy in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, I would enjoy it more. They were fine, but again, the plot just sort of happened. I mean, that's some criticism that I think could be applied to pretty much all the books. It's just that I thought the plot was a bit tighter, made a bit more sort of like sense in terms of what he wanted narratively to happen in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And so now we go to 2 stars. So this is, I obviously disliked it. And again, we have 2 in that category. So we have number 5 and number 6, which are The Voyage of the Dawn Treader and then The Silver Chair. So The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, introduced to Eustace Scrubs, so we're going to put a pin in Eustace Scrubs. I'm going to be talking about him, and C.S. Lewis's original Soy Boy. Again, the plot just happened, it wasn't magical, and this is where C.S. Lewis's social views, commentary really started to kick in more, and I really was not a fan. So again, The Silver Chair, it's Eustace and Jill, and there's a lot of social commentary and a lot of stupid stuff that happens. Like they act so stupidly, and it really annoys me when you have child characters in a story for children acting so stupidly, particularly when your readers are meant to relate to them, because children aren't stupid, and I find it such a disservice to write stories in which that happens. And also Aslan. Ooh, we'll get to Aslan. And now down to the 1-star books. Okay, so I have one that is better a little bit than the other one, and that is The Last Battle. So it's the end of the series. I thought the ending, the absolute ending, no. I thought it was so stupid, and I could see that where it was going. I was like, oh okay, I can see what's happening, and it did, and I was like, no, no thank you, no thank you. And also stuff to do with Susan. And then the worst one, the most yikes one. Each one obviously comes with an illustration that was like the front page. And I looked at this and thought, well, this might be the most yikes one. And this is the illustration. Ooh. It's, oh boy. It's, oh boy, there is a lot of racial coding there, and it's so bad, and the plot is also bad, and the characters are not good, and it's really stupid, and I really didn't like it. So if you're going to read something, honestly, read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and just, like, my recommendation would be just to leave it there. It works as a standalone book. I thought it was great. Now I want to talk about some problematic themes, or themes that I found problematic. Within this section I will be talking about spoilers. I will put a little spoiler warning up when I'm talking about them. So there are 3 categories that I think really date the books and that I really didn't enjoy. Those 3 themes are Lewis Carroll's, C.S. Lewis's outdated social views, his sexism and his racism. So I know that they all sort of come under social views, but I'm putting sort of social views as he sort of has this commentary going on throughout the whole thing, which I thought worked really well with The Lion, the Witch, the Wardrobe. I liked having little asides to kids and like the fact that it was a written book, and I liked that. I thought it was kind of playful and I liked it. But there's also quite a lot of stuff about, so for instance, Eustace Scrubs. Let's return to him. So he is the cousin of Lucy, Edmund, Susan and Peter, who are the 4 main children from the series, and mainly in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And he is this cousin who's been brought up by vegetarian parents who sent him to, it's not really a new age school, but like a different type of school from, you know, a private school. So he's grown up to be weak and to be a coward. He's told he can be anything, so therefore he doesn't try. So basically he's a prototype soy boy snowflake. And this is best exemplified by, at one point, he gets turned into a dragon and he doesn't like it. At that point I was like, really? There was a child who got turned into a dragon and didn't like it. But it teaches him to be braver, you know, because he's never hit and all that sort of thing. So how else is he going to learn to be brave? And there's a lot of things equating chivalry and throwing swords around as being good character building things that men do. And war is no place for women. I mean, that actually was from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, but I was willing to overlook it. And there's things about, the head of his school, which is called Experiment House, is a woman and she can't cope with stuff. She has a mental breakdown. And I just, I just was not happy about that. So this sort of segues into stuff about the sexism. So again, women who are powerful either need to be, well, no, they always need to be brought down to size, whether it's through giving them nervous breakdowns, as through the head teacher from Experiment House, which is only briefly described, but it was honestly enough for me and I just rolled my eyes. But particularly through two characters. So there's Jadis, I think it's Jadis, who becomes the White Witch, but she's also in Magician's Nephew, and she is this powerful woman who is domineering and she wields weapons, and I was just like, yeah, I'm into Jadis. So there's also this character, the Diggory's uncle, who is also, it's sort of hinted that he's kind of into her, but is like, he kind of, there's a strong hint that he sort of finds it sexy, but obviously that is bad and deviant and that is not allowed. There's also a character in The Silver Chair who is, does she have a name? If she does, I can't remember it. And she has basically captured this prince, and she is this beautiful sort of temptress. And I mean, I studied Celtic myth, I'm very familiar with it, and she's clearly based on these goddesses or fair folk who get men from this world and bring them into the other world. Apart from when that happens in the Celtic myth, the men are very willing and they know what they're going into, and they're not, most of the time they're not really tempted, they just sort of end up there, or they go on their own free will. A great example of this is the myth of Oisin and Neith, but in this obviously it's bad, very bad, evil, temptress woman, and must be brought down by good men who are, you know, brave and valiant, and they don't really want to be captured by this beautiful woman who are going to enslave them, and they will make them king, but they'll always be the slave of her and she'll be the power behind the throne. And I just, oh god, can we not? So yeah, and also this is tied into the stupidity thing. Basically what happens with her in the Silver Chair is that it's been said before that Rillian disappeared and that he saw this beautiful woman in green, and that it was near to this place where his mother was killed by this very green snake, and so like they're like, oh, this is, the woman was the snake, and I think they even say that early on. But then when the characters actually find them, they see them on the road. Well, Rillian, the prince, is in, you know, full armour, he doesn't speak, and this woman, this very beautiful woman in green, is on a horse, and, well, so is Prince Rillian, but they're going up to the Giant's Kingdom. Surely you recognise that this is the woman who has taken Prince Rillian. Like, are you so dense? I just, oh, it's so stupid, it's so stupid. And of course it is, and fine, whatever. But the most egregious example is the fact that Susan is not allowed back into Narnia in the final book, The Last Battle. So, the reason for this, and I want to quote it because it must be told, is, so for a bit of context, everyone has come back into Narnia who's ever been before. So that's Polly, that's Diggory, who were there for the founding of Narnia. There was Peter, Lucy, Edmund, and Jill, and Eustace are also there. And Tyrion is the king of Narnia at that point. "Sire," said Tyrion, when he had greeted all the people, "if I have read the Chronicles aright, there should be another. Has not your Majesty two sisters? Where is Queen Susan?" "My sister Susan," answered Peter shortly and gravely, "is no longer a friend of Narnia." "Yes," said Eustace, "and whenever you've tried to get her to come and talk about Narnia, or do anything about Narnia, she says, 'What wonderful memories you have. Fancy you're still thinking about all those funny games we used to play when we were children.'" "Oh, Susan," said Jill, "she's interested in nothing nowadays except nylons and lipsticks and invitations. She always was a jolly sight too keen on being grown up." "Grown up indeed," said the Lady Polly. "Who is an adult woman? She is an old woman in the real world. She's not old anymore, but okay. I wish she would grow up. She wasted all her school time wanting to be the age she is now, and she'll waste all the rest of her life trying to stay that age. Her whole idea is to race on to the silliest time of one's life as quick as she can, and then stop there as long as she can." "Well, don't let's talk about that now," said Peter. "Look, here are lovely fruit trees. Let us taste them." And that's all that we say of Susan. Honestly, fuck this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. You know what it is? C.S. Lewis hates women, alright? He loves, the only type of women that he tolerates are girls who have not reached maturity, or they are good women. They are silent women. They are women who look pretty and do nothing. And I hated it, and there's nothing wrong with liking lipstick. Imagine that you're a child who has grown up reading these books, and you get to the last book in the whole series, and you're a girl. So let's say you started reading these books at 10, and you enjoyed the books, so you carry on reading, and maybe even some people, particularly other girls, sort of mock you for it. So you've been reading these books, and you get to the final one, and you are 16 years old. You're a 16-year-old young woman, bodily, mentally, sexually, you are beginning to enter that world, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time, and you're unsure if you can still be the same person you used to be before, and you read this shit. How do you react to that? I think if I had read it, I would have legitimately just been so upset that I wouldn't have been allowed back in Narnia because I wasn't a friend of Narnia because I liked lipstick. Well, you know what? I would not have wanted to be in Narnia anyway, because let's talk about the final bit of the final book. I will get onto the racism. Don't worry, that will be discussed. So, the final bit of the final book is Narnia gets destroyed, and so they're all these people who I just mentioned are there watching it, and Aslan is there, and he's like, yeah, that's Narnia being destroyed. And it's like, okay, so it's like Judgment Day. So they're then in this perfect version of Narnia. So everything is the same, but it's a perfect version. Also, it's a perfect version of England because it's all part of the world, because guess what? Aslan is Jesus. Yeah, like obviously Aslan is Jesus. No, it's not surprising. But it turns out they were all in a train accident and they're all dead, and this is the afterlife. And then Aslan transforms before their eyes, but they can't say what it is because that's when the book ends. And honestly, good riddance. Like, oh my. Right, so let's now move on to the racism. So, obviously looking at me, I'm the colour of gone off milk. So I will keep my comments about this brief and try not to speak beyond my remit, other than to recognise that the books are inexcusably racist. They not only draw on racial stereotyping, they are legitimately, I would say, dangerous for children to read. There is a race of people called the Calamines, who are clearly like Islamic, Turkish, Middle Eastern people, and they are portrayed as horrible, brutish savages who have slavery, also talk in this weird Arabian Nights style poetic way. So they're, in some cases, they're kind of noble savages, and it's just, oh god, I hate it, it's so bad. So a lot of this takes place in The Horse and His Boy, which is set partly in Calamine. Is the country called Calamine? Oh, I don't care. And it features a young Calamine girl who is escaping from her father, marrying her off to an elderly vizier, which is fun. And this boy, who turns out is white all along, and is a secret prince that no one has ever tried to find or rescue, even though Aslan knew where he was. Oh, it's so stupid, honestly. It's so stupid. And it's just terrible, and it's like every bad Ottoman Empire, like, I don't know, like almost bad fanfic or something. I don't know, it's really bad and insulting. And there's also bits in the final battle, the last battle, I don't know, the last book, where dwarves refer to the Calamines who are invading, obviously. Oh, God, I hate it. The dwarves refer quite a number of times to Calamines as, and I really apologise for saying it, darkies, or darky. Oh, it's just terrible. It's portrayed for laughs a lot in the book, and there's one Calamine who is allowed to go to heaven, but that's only because when he was praying to Tash, the which is the Halloween like head god. He was really praying to Aslan because he had a pure heart, and Tash is the opposite of Aslan. He's all the bad things. You know, he's the he's destruction and so on. I'm just like, really? You can't even have a internal philosophy that the Muslim coded people and the Christian coded people do share the same God, but they have different manifestations, slightly different names. I studied a little bit about Islam, basically enough for me to recognise it is incredibly complex and rich and as diverse as Christianity is, so I really can't say anything about it. And for it to be characterised in this way and fictionalised in this way is honestly horrendous, and I hate it. And it's really dull and unimaginative. And now on to a character that I think probably a lot of people would have fond memories of. I had nice memories of, mostly of like the BBC drama and the movies of Aslan. So Aslan is clearly a Jesus type figure, and while I am no longer a Christian, I do have a lot of sympathy for Christianity. I don't think it's intrinsically bad. I understand that obviously I had a very different experience from a lot of people. I grew up in a Christian setting that was, to us, mostly secular, but it was a very, very like accepting form of Christianity. So I don't have a problem with Christian imagery. As such, I mean, I have a degree in Christian theology, but Aslan is sort of representative of the worst aspects of really sort of an old school idea of what Christianity is. So he is punitive and petty, and he can just do anything. He's omnipotent and seemingly omniscient as well. And it's just like, well, why doesn't Aslan do everything? Like, when Rillian is gone, he's like, oh yeah, this is how you'll find Rillian, and I guess it's to prove to them that they believe in Aslan, because that's like a big theme of the last book, is that if you believe, then you get to go to heaven. And I just, like, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, he was fine, because he was, he was doing the Jesus thing, he was sacrificing himself. And, Jesus in general is someone who is, I think that the real positives about Christianity are about thinking of others before yourself, and the redemption through Christ, and the power over death and all that sort of thing. Even though I don't believe that anymore, and my ideas on death and afterlife and so on have changed quite a lot, I was never in favour of a afterlife or belief in life after death, that you had to believe a certain thing to be able to get it. It's more about actions, and Aslan just rides in and fixes everything. There's never any tension, because it's like, if they're ever in trouble, Aslan will come in and get them. I just really want to say that there's nothing wrong with you if you like these books, and I don't think that you should not like them anymore, whether you like them now, whether you like them as a child and stuff, or memories. I mean, I grew up reading Harry Potter, and I'm now aware of all the really bad flaws within it and bad messages and all this sort of thing, but it'll always have a place in my heart. If you like it, then continue to like it, and I guess, I hope that you are aware of its problematic elements, and that you don't replicate, the racism and all that sort of stuff. But if you find it magical and just an escape, then I don't think there's anything bad in that. I mean, during my key teen years, I was super into Twilight, which I'm now having this weird return to, and I kind of really want to reread the whole series, even though I know it's problematic. Partly because we like what we like, and we can like stuff that is bad, but we have to sort of be aware of it as well. So I don't think that it's bad if you like this book, or that you shouldn't get anything from it, but I also think that it's really held up as this, as this classic, and that there's this expectation that you should read it and that it's going to be good, and I really didn't find that at all. And I find that with a lot of classics, in that I try to read them and I don't get on very well with them, and I sort of feel guilty. And I think we can like what we like. We shouldn't have to feel that we have to read classics, or that if we do, we have to like them. Read what you want to read, and honestly, in this time where all this stuff is happening around us, read what brings you comfort, or that gets you pepped up and angry, or whatever, but read something that you enjoy reading. And I have to say that there have been books that I disliked before, and I've given like, I gave this book 2 stars overall for the binder. And I have to say that I've read 2-star books before and I enjoyed them a lot more. I had to make myself carry on reading this. So yeah, it's a big note from me and kind of a big yikes. But if you enjoyed it, then read what makes you happy and don't feel bad about it, and you don't have to critically engage with stuff either. I mean, I wasn't trying to, I know that there's been tons written about these books and about all these ideological things and so on, but I really wasn't trying to find those things. They just jumped out at me. Enjoy what you enjoy, and obviously stay safe, stay inside if you can. So thank you for watching me, and I hope to see you again soon.